of a sleepy suburban town, where the days blended indistinctly into one another and the nights were uneventfully silent, there stood a peculiar structure that had long piqued the interest of the local residents. It was the Iron Will Gym, a new establishment that had opened its doors with little fanfare yet an air of mystery that hung about it like a dense fog. Alex, a young man with a slender build and an unassuming demeanor, had always felt an inexplicable draw towards the gym. His life, mostly a monotonous cycle of mundane routines, yearned for a change, a spark. The gym, with its promise of transformation and its enigmatic aura, seemed to offer just that. As Alex stepped into the Iron Will Gym for the first time, a chill ran down his spine. The interior was dimly lit, with flickering fluorescent lights that cast elongated shadows across the rusted iron of the vintage weightlifting equipment. The air was thick, heavy, as if saturated with the sweat and toil of countless unseen laborers. The walls were adorned with old black and white photographs of muscular figures lifting extraordinary weights, their faces contorted in expressions of both agony and ecstasy. But there was something unsettling about these images. The eyes of the subjects seemed to follow Alex, filled with a haunting intensity that bordered on desperation. The gym's owner, a burly man with a weathered face and deep-set eyes, greeted Alex with a nod, his voice a deep, guttural rumble. "First time at Iron Will, Dad. You'll find we're different from those fancy, high-tech gyms. Here, it's all about raw strength and iron willpower," he said, with a hint of an ominous undertone. As Alex began his workout, he couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. The gym was nearly empty, save for a few solitary figures who worked out in silence, their faces expressionless, almost mask-like. Their movements were mechanical, unceasing, as if they were driven by an unseen force. The air was intermittently pierced by the clanging of metal, but there was an undercurrent of something else, a faint, almost imperceptible whispering that seemed to emanate from the very walls and equipment of the gym. It was unintelligible, yet it filled Alex with an inexplicable sense of dread. The mirrors in the gym further added to the unnerving atmosphere. Alex's reflection seemed slightly off, his movements lagging as if the mirror was capturing a different timeline. Occasionally, he caught glimpses of shadowy figures in the periphery of his vision, but when he turned to look, there was nothing but the empty expanse of the gym. As the night grew deeper, the whispering grew more insistent, more coherent. It was as if the gym itself was alive, speaking in a language of anguish and longing. The air grew colder, the shadows darker, and the sense of being watched more pronounced. Frightened yet compelled, Alex continued his workout, pushing himself harder. The gym owner watched him, a strange, knowing glimmer in his eyes. The other gym-goers seemed to increase their intensity, their faces now twisted in silent screams of pain and pleasure, blurring the line between human and spectral. When Alex finally left the gym that night, the cold air outside felt like a liberating breath of reality. But the echoes of the whispers followed him, lingering in his ears like a morbid lullaby, beckoning him to return to the Iron Will Gym to uncover the dark secrets that lay within its haunted walls. The days following Alex's first visit to Iron Will Gym were filled with an unease he couldn't shake off. The experience had left an indelible mark on his psyche, haunting his thoughts and dreams. Despite the unsettling feelings, or perhaps because of them, Alex found himself drawn back to the gym. There was a mystery there, something that called out to him, a puzzle that his mind ached to solve. On his return, the gym felt even more oppressive than before. The air was dense, almost suffocating, as if saturated with the exertions and struggles of unseen entities. The flickering lights cast erratic shadows, creating an illusion of movement in the corners of his eyes. The gym-goers were the same. Their faces were devoid of emotion, their movements robotic and relentless. As Alex began his workout, he couldn't escape the sensation of being watched. It wasn't just the unnerving photographs on the wall or the unsettling gaze of the gym's owner. It felt deeper, more pervasive, as if the very essence of the gym was observing him, analyzing him. The mirrors, with their slightly delayed reflections, added to the growing terror. Alex's image seemed to be not quite in sync, as if he was observing himself from another dimension. Occasionally, he would catch a glimpse of a shadowy figure standing behind him in the reflection, but upon turning, he found no one. The whispers were back, more coherent than before, like a sinister chorus conducted by an unseen maestro. They seemed to be speaking directly to him in a language he couldn't understand but felt in his bones. It was as if the walls themselves were alive, whispering secrets of the past, of pain and suffering, of souls trapped in eternal toil. The other gym members began to seem more ghostly, their figures blurred and indistinct, their faces gaunt and owl-eyed. They worked out in silence, save for the occasional gasp or grunt that sounded more like a plea for release than an exertion of effort. As he pushed himself harder, the gym seemed to respond. The temperature dropped, the shadows deepened, and the air grew thicker. The metallic scent of rust and sweat was now mingled with something else, something ancient and decayed. Alex tried to focus on his workout, but the feeling of being watched grew increasingly intense. He felt a presence, an oppressive weight on his shoulders, like a heavy, invisible hand. The gym's atmosphere was no longer merely unsettling, it was threatening, as if warning him to leave, to escape while he still could. Towards the end of his session, as Alex was resting between sets, he heard a faint, almost inaudible sigh, as if from a great distance, yet intimately close. He looked around in alarm, but the gym was as it had been, silent, save for the soft echoes of the whispering walls. Leaving the gym that night, Alex felt a cold breeze brush against his face, carrying with it a faint, whispering voice, like a lament from the depths of the earth. It was a sound that would stay with him, haunting his nights, a constant reminder of the unseen eyes that watched from the shadows of Ironwood Gem. Alex's obsession with Ironwood Gem deepened, his thoughts constantly returning to the enigmatic and terrifying experiences he had endured there. Despite the growing dread that gnawed at his mind, he felt an irresistible pull towards the gem, a need to understand the strange phenomena he had encountered. On his third visit, the atmosphere of the gym was more foreboding than ever. The air was thick and heavy, almost tangible, as if filled with the suppressed agony of tormented souls. The dim lights flickered erratically, casting long, dancing shadows that seemed to writhe and twist on the walls and floor. As Alex started his workout, the familiar sense of being watched intensified. It felt as if the gym itself was aware of his presence, its unseen eyes following his every move with malignant intent. The whispers were there too, now clearer, more insistent, echoing around him like a chorus of the damned. tonight, something was different. The weights and the equipment seemed to have a life of their own. As Alex lifted the dumbbells, he could feel them vibrating with a strange energy, as if they were reluctant to be moved. The whispers grew louder each time he completed a set, urging him on, their tone both encouraging and mocking. The other gym-goers were even more ghost-like, their movements unnaturally synchronized, as if they were puppets controlled by unseen strings. Their faces were pale, their eyes hollow, and their mouths moved silently as if they were whispering along with the unseen voices. As Alex moved to the bench press, he noticed that the barbell was already loaded with weights, more than he usually lifted. Hesitantly, he lay down and gripped the bar. As he lifted it, the whispers crescendoed into a deafening roar in his ears. The barbell felt alive in his hands, pulsating with a malevolent energy. Each rep became a battle, not just of physical strength, but of will. Alex's mind was filled with flashes of horrifying images, twisted faces in agony, spectral figures bound in chains of iron, and shadowy forms writhing in torment. The weight seemed to grow heavier with each lift, as if absorbing the darkness around it. Exhausted and terrified, Alex re-racked the barbell and staggered away. The whispers subsided into a malevolent chuckle, echoing mockingly in the now deathly silent gym. The other patrons continued their ghostly workouts, paying no heed to his distress. As he left the gym that night, Alex felt a cold hand brush against his back, sending shivers down his spine. Turning around, he found nothing but the empty, darkened room behind him. The whispers followed him out into the night, a sinister reminder of the malevolent force that dwelled within Ironwood Gym. The more Alex frequented Ironwood Gym, the more he became consumed by its mysteries. He was drawn to it, despite the terror it instilled in him. Each visit revealed something more unsettling, more inexplicable. There was one aspect of the gym, however, that remained shrouded in secrecy, a locked room at the far end of the building. This room, always kept under lock and key, emanated an aura of foreboding. Alex had asked the gym owner about it once, only to receive a gruff, evasive response that it was merely a storage area. But the heavy padlock and the way the owner's eyes darted away spoke of deeper, darker secrets. One evening, as the gym was about to close and the other patrons had left, Alex found himself alone with the enigmatic room. Driven by a mix of fear and curiosity, he approached the door. The air around it felt colder, heavier, as if imbued with a malevolent presence. As he neared, Alex heard a sound that made his blood run cold, a faint, rhythmic thumping coming from behind the door, like the beating of a heart. He pressed his ear against the cold metal, and the sound grew louder, accompanied by a faint, ragged breathing. Suddenly, the thumping ceased, replaced by a low, guttural whisper that seemed to seep through the cracks of the door. The voice was indecipherable, yet it filled Alex with an overwhelming sense of dread. It was as if something ancient and evil was aware of his presence, watching him from behind the locked door. The gym's lights flickered more violently, casting erratic shadows that danced across the walls. Alex felt a gust of cold air, and the hairs on the back of his neck stood up. He turned around to see the gym owner standing behind him, his eyes dark and expression unreadable. "You shouldn't be here," the owner said in a voice that was almost a growl. "Some doors are meant to stay closed." Alex Alex, heart pounding, backed away from the door and the owner. He left the gym that night with the haunting image of the locked door etched into his mind, the whispers echoing in his ears. He lay awake that night, haunted by the thought of what secrets lay behind that door and the chilling realization that the gym harbored a darkness far deeper than he had imagined. Driven by a relentless need to uncover the truth, Alex decided to explore the gym after hours. Under the cover of night, he slipped into the building. The gym, bathed in moonlight, took on an otherworldly appearance. The equipment cast long, twisted shadows, and the air was thick with an oppressive silence. As he moved through the gym, Alex noticed something unsettling. The equipment seemed to be moving slightly, as if being used by invisible patrons. The whispers were now clearer, echoing throughout the empty space, speaking in a chorus of anguish and despair. Suddenly, the gym's lights flickered on, illuminating the room in a harsh, unsettling light. The reflections in the mirrors were distorted, showing glimpses of a nightmarish realm where tormented souls were trapped in an endless cycle of grueling workouts. Alex approached one of the mirrors, and his reflection shifted, revealing a scene from the past. He saw the gym as it once was, a place of fanatic obsession, where the pursuit of physical perfection turned into a dark, twisted ritual. The gym-goers, now ghostly figures, were bound to their fate, their spirits consumed by a malevolent force. The reflections showed the gym owner, younger yet with the same ardent expression, leading the workouts with a zealot's fervor. It became clear that the gym was more than a place of exercise. It was a cult, with the owner as its charismatic, sinister leader. Confronted by Alex, the gym owner revealed the chilling history of Ironwood Gym. It was built upon the site of a fanatical fitness cult whose members pushed themselves beyond mortal limits, seeking transcendence through physical exertion. Their obsession led to their demise, leaving their tormented souls trapped within the gym. The owner confessed his role in the cult, his guilt and inability to leave the past behind. He admitted that the gym was a monument to his own hubris, a cursed place where the spirits of the lost were bound to the very equipment they once used. Realizing the horror he had stumbled upon, Alex sought to end the haunting. As he attempted to destroy the cursed equipment, the spirits manifested, their spectral forms distorted by pain and suffering. They surrounded him, their whispers now deafening screams, urging him to join them in their eternal workout. A struggle ensued, with Alex fighting against the overwhelming forces. The gym became a battleground between the living and the dead, the air filled with the sounds of clashing metal and ethereal wails. In a desperate attempt to free the spirits, Alex completed the ritual workout that had originally bound them. Pushing himself to the brink of exhaustion, he mirrored the actions of the cult members, but with one crucial difference: he stopped just short of the point of no return. This act of defiance and compassion broke the cycle, releasing the spirits from their torment. The gym was filled with a blinding light as the souls were freed, their whispers turning into sighs of relief and gratitude. The gym was left in ruins, a hollow shell of its former self. Alex, forever changed by the ordeal, often pondered the fate of the spirits he had freed. He hoped they had found peace, free from the curse that had bound them to Ironwood Gym. The gym's destruction marked the end of a dark chapter in the town's history. Alex moved on with his life, but the memories of that place, of the whispers and the shadows, remained with him, a haunting reminder of the thin veil between obsession and madness.